Alrighty, shit, that was fast.
Yeah, I know, right? Hello, everyone. This is the second episode of the Dukes of Degeneracy podcast. Today we're going to do the equivalent of what I would consider an anime book club. So every week or two, we would come back and talk about the show that we all agreed to watch. And then and it will be these will be shorter episodes than the previous ones. I think these ones are going to be like bi-weekly or weekly. We haven't decided yet, and the other episodes, where we would like we would do things more special, such as make the 3x3s or play a Jeopardy or something. Those will be a little bit different, and those will be typically with guests. These book club episodes will be typically just us three. And so today we'll kick it off by talking about the seasonals that we've been watching, for this season, spring of 2021, and then later we'll talk about the show that we've been watching this week, Mushoku Tensei. So. If anyone would like to start with the seasonals they've been watching, I know both of you guys just watched something before we started.
Yeah.
So do either of you guys? I'll give Alex the floor because Alex sounded
Okay.
pretty excited to talk about it.
Okay, so originally when it comes to watching seasonals, I mentioned it before, but I've been watching at least one seasonal show every season up until at least since the beginning I started watching anime. A couple of seasons I kind of were hit and misses because they were just nothing was interesting to watch, but I'd still watch some of the things that came out after the fact. But so far I think we're all pretty we're all on the same page that 2021 is kind of a banger this year.
So far,
we've had two seasons and they've both been really good. At least I'm really happy with this season so far. But I guess I'll quickly just name off the three shows I'm watching right now. I'll talk about the one I'm the most passionate for immediately. But the three I'm watching right now are Don't Tease Me Nagatoro, Vivi Fluoride Ice Song,
Sigh,
and Tokyo Revengers.
Ooh, that last one though.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? I'm kind of in the middle, but when it comes to my two favorites for this, because I've read 82 chapters of the Nagatoro manga.
Okay.
Right? When this got announced, I kind of had to watch it.
Yeah.
Not manga.
Okay. Well, I haven't seen it, but actually, when I was on the drive home today, I was watching some YouTube clips and stuff of it, and I understand the gist of it, that it's like an Azaki-chan type.
Don't compare to that. Don't compare
really?
to that. That's awful.
Matt,
Nagatoro is infinitely better, man.
Matt, have you seen either of those shows?
No, I refuse to watch them.
Yeah. I have no.
I refuse.
Yeah, it's gonna be a hard sell for me, dude. So tell us. I guess tell us why Nagatoro, and then follow up with why is Nagatoro so different from Azaki-chan?
Okay. So. For you, if you don't know what the story, I'm not gonna call it a story. It's Nagatoro. The whole idea with it is just basically small girl bullies older guy, not bullies, teases older guy.
Okay.
Nah, bro, she bullies him. Come on now, let's be honest.
Yeah, when I was watching, that was straight bullying.
It is pretty fucked up, some of the shit she does. Let's be honest here.
Well, listen.
Come on.
At the beginning of the show, it's kind of borderlining. It's like on the line of bullying, but I promise you, like 20, 30, 40 chapters in, it becomes way more just teasing. I promise you. Right? I'm not saying anything about myself, but okay, maybe it's bullying for the beginning. For the beginning, it's bullying. I can admit to that.
I've seen enough clips, and I'm like, man, this bitch just seems like the worst human being to exist.
Yeah,
I want to hit her, you know?
Yeah, I feel so bad for the main character. I don't know.
He likes it.
Okay.
I'm just saying.
Like he's liking it. What do you mean?
I mean, listen, I haven't watched the show, but I highly doubt that he's a masochist.
Well, all I'm saying is that if he really hated it, he would have moved away by chapter 20, 30.
Are you sure?
I don't know.
Are you sure? He doesn't look like the type of person that would be able to.
That's besides the point. But anyways,
he's like, no further questions, Your Honor.
That's besides the point. When it comes to Nagatoro compared to so here's the thing, right? Is that I kind of see Nagatoro in the same vein that you see a lot of those those big manga series, like the big like slice of life manga series that where people were just waiting, people were like foaming at the mouth, waiting to get animated. So examples were like Uzaki, she like the people were excited for her to get animated.
Komi-san anime,
Yeah, Komi-san's happening now.
LFG.
Jahisama, Takagi-san, like all those shows were like they were really big mangas that were just people just waiting to get animated.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie, I think Nagatoro was kind of like the queen of that category.
And
Listen,
all these
I
otakus
get
are
it.
just a bunch of masochists, dude. Like, holy shit.
Listen, I get it. Komi's probably really good, but like Nagatoro, man, come on.
Oh, man.
No, I feel like there's like a lot more charm. Like at least comparing it to Uzaki. Uzaki is a very one-dimensional like interaction between like the main character and her. Nagatoro got some layers, man. That shit's actually funny.
She's an ogre now. Okay, it's pretty accurate.
Who?
Ogres do indeed have layers. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Ooh.
Okay. Next. Okay. Well, what about the other two?
Wait,
What about the
like my
other- Tell me about
come
the
on.
other two. Tell me about the other two.
Okay. I'm sure you're gonna talk about Tokyo Revengers. I think at least one of you two are gonna talk about Tokyo Revengers later. But the
I
other
don't
show
know.
that
I
I'm
don't
very, very excited for, or that I've been watching is Vivi Floret Eyes song.
Mhm.
So for some context, Vivi it's made by Studio Wit,
Mhm.
and it's a team of animators that primarily worked on ReZero, on both seasons of ReZero, and they're kind of making this as like a passion project. It's a completely original series.
Vivi. I'm trying to. Find
Vivi
it right now.
Fluorite Ice on. You're not going to find it near the top. It is much lower
I
than you
found it.
expect.
I found it.
I'm very much looking forward to watching this as well, though. I really want to watch
I
it
have
eventually.
I have watched every episode so far, and that's what I was watching before I was here. And every episode hits. Every episode hits. For a general idea on what the story is about, basically, it's just kind of the idea of like an AI like some Skynet type shit where AI overcomes the humans and starts to take over the world. And someone from the future kind of sends a message back in time saying we need to find somebody to stop this, and they send it to like the first like big android, like the first like widely distributed android, which her name is Vivi, kind of. Alex, that you see that in the anime, but
Uh-huh.
No
basically,
spoilies.
I'm not going to spoil anything, but
Yeah.
nevertheless, basically it's just the entire show is from an AI's perspective on trying to solve very human problems, but in the perspective and in the receiving end of an android. So I'm not gonna say specifically like what events happen, but stuff involving like life and death, marriage, love, suicide, like that kind of shit. Like goes through like all that, but how does an AI perceive that? That's
See,
kind of the idea of the show.
when you were describing that, that actually reminded me a lot of like Death Parade, right? Because like the whole dynamic of it and like throughout the series, it was like humanizing. What's his like Deca something? What was his name? Do you guys remember? Did you guys watch Death Parade?
I watched
No.
I'm trying to remember the name of the guy though. I don't remember it.
Yeah, but it was like the white haired guy. Just I don't know. So but like his like the whole thing was like about him like humanizing and like because like before he would like when he was judging people, it was like very like
He was very critical. Like he was very, very, very objective.
He didn't really understand. I don't know. It just reminded me a lot of Death Parade in the sense that like it was like this like android or something like something definitely not human, was like whose job is to judge people, like just didn't understand humans that well and stuff like that. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get that. The big thing with Vivian, I guess this is kind of leaking into every medium I like now, is anything involving androids kind of coming to term with like anything in terms of like philosophy kind of hits different for me. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with Nier. Nier's like the big proponent to like why I like that kind of like show or that kind of storytelling. And Vivi, like I saw the trailer and I read the synopsis for Vivi, and I'm like, you know what? I'm on board. I have no fucking clue what this is, but I'm down for it. And like, it's kind of an idol show, not really.
God.
But the music kind of goes hard. So
This guy and
I'll
his
take it
idol
all. I
shows,
think
bro.
I think if it like if it keeps going as it's going right now,
Yeah.
I can easily give it like a 9 or a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
If it
That's the
ends really
statement.
well, it can be a 10.
That's a
So,
statement. Okay. Is
um,
it supposed to
last one
wrap
I'll
up in
quickly.
12?
Yeah, no, yeah, I think it's 12 or 13 episodes.
Says
We got
13.
really lucky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
13? That's what it was
Yeah.
then. We got really lucky because they actually launched the first week of the season. They actually released the first 2 episodes at once instead of it having just started at like 1 week early or ended 1 week late.
Mm-hmm.
They started off with 2 episodes. Whole reason for that is because for as weird as it is, it's a very episodic show. Basically, you kind of see the story progress through arcs to an extent. So it's like 2 episode arcs of every single time like one of these situations befalls Vivi. It all takes place within 2 episodes. So I guess they kind of wanted to release the 2 episodes to begin with to kind of show off like the first arc of the story. But they've been keeping up with it so far, and good. It's really good.
Nice.
Last thing, I'm not going to talk too much about it because I'm sure one of you two will. Tokyo Avengers is my third show. I did not care too much about this show, but one of my friends got me to peep the first episode. Now I'm a sucker for time travel.
Uh-huh.
Anything revolving time travel, time
You
loop.
don't say.
Uh,
When
that
when
is
three animes on your 3x3 were involved time travel pretty heavily.
yeah. But anyways, Tokyo Avengers, it has an aspect of that time travel, time loop, whatever you want to call it, kind of idea with it.
Mm-hmm.
First off, that hooked me. They didn't go very much into detail with it. So at least so far, they haven't gone into detail with it from as far as I've watched.
How many episodes are you in?
I am 3 episodes in. The 5th episode released today, so I've got 2 episodes to catch up to.
Ah, okay. So I think the 4th episode's like when it's like then they start like at least they touch up on the mechanics of it. I guess you'll see.
They probably will.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, I don't know. Like some people were comparing it to a race, saying it's kind of like erased, but for I don't I kind of see the difference when it goes like or the similarities between Tokyo Revengers and Erased. But so far, I kind of like Erased more, purely because, or at least Tokyo Revengers when he leaps back in time to his like past self.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of his perspective is he has an objective, he has a mission, and he's there to fight. When it comes to Erased, it was kind of like he was taking a breath, he was taking in the environment, and trying to figure out and assess the situation. And so far, I like Erased more. I think Tokyo Revengers can definitely do something. I'm not doubting what it can do at all.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just kind of how I see it so far. I'm also not caught up, so I
See.
am
Okay.
not.
Yeah. So here's what I'll step in because you know what I will say right now that I think of the seasonals I've been watching, Tokyo Revengers has been my favorite one. I think Tokyo Revengers. So like I think when comparing it to Erased, like I understand the comparison when they're like, oh yeah, like essentially they're just trying to save a girl. They both are. So like that's like the main point of it. But like okay, when you made the comparison like okay, I would say Erased is like definitely leans a lot more into like the mystery aspect of it, whereas like Tokyo Revengers is a little bit different in the sense that like it's a mystery, but it's like you're like trying to learn about the world that he's in, like as it's like because it's like constantly changing and it's like a different timeline for him, or like things are changing because he's doing things different when he goes back in time. But it's like so he's constantly trying to learn about the world and around him and stuff. It doesn't lean as hard into the mystery aspect. It's more about like learning about the world, and it's like world building, I guess. It's a little bit harder to explain.
I know what you mean.
Once
The thing with Tokyo Revengers,
it'll be really interesting. And I think like one of the best parts too is like is like he I don't know if this is like spoiling it too much for you. What could you remind me what happened in the most recent event?
most recent episode, it ended off with him walking by a certain other group of people that he was supposed to prevent another group of people from meeting.
Okay. Well, okay. Well,
Keeping it vague.
It's gonna be like a minor spoiler, but not really. It's just one episode further in.
I
But like I think one of the interesting parts is like how he goes back and forth and like how like those events are changing the worlds around him. And he's like,
I knew.
Okay, so you get to see the comparisons of like you know, like 12 years later, you see this other character, and you're like, and they're totally different, and they're like, what the fuck happened? And then you need to go back in time and then change. You know, he goes back and forth, and it's like it's really interesting. And like also, I love like the gang aspect of it. I think that's really cool. I don't think there's enough of that in anime.
Well, that's the thing. I think the biggest difference in terms of like pacing with Tokyo Revengers compared to Erased, and this is the last time I'm going to compare them, is that when it comes to when you watch Erased, every time that the main character would make an alterate like some kind of alteration to the past, and he would go back to the future, it wouldn't make a significant push. It would just be a nudge. He would nudge something towards the right direction, but it wouldn't be quite there. With Tokyo Revengers, when there's a push, it's a fucking shove. It goes and it completely changes the future, which is, I guess, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it makes it feel like his effects are a lot more consequential than the effects of the main character in Erased. They make like in Erased, it was like he's working really hard but not getting much out of it. Well, with Tokyo Revengers, he's doing some shit and it's happening really fast and really hard. So
I think to be fair, I think Tokyo Revengers like plot is a lot larger scale than Erased is.
yeah, I get that for sure because there's a lot more characters that Tokyo Revengers
Yeah,
encapsulates.
because Erased, well, not even that too, but like Erased, it's more of like, you know, he's living in his own world, and there's like a specific group of characters. There's not so much world building. Tokyo Revengers, there definitely is like there's like a world to explore. There's like a lot of things going on, and you're right, there is a lot more characters, but you know, it's a lot more. Just a lot more things going on, I guess. But
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, Tokyo Revengers though, my favorite seasonal. Other ones that I've been watching. How did you pronounce it? Higahiro? Or Higahiro? Something like that?
Yeah.
Have any of you guys
I just watched the first episode of that today.
What'd you think?
I thought it was cute. I thought it was wholesome.
Uh-huh.
I'm interested to see if it will remain wholesome,
Uh-huh.
or if like something interesting will happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm wondering if like it's gonna be one of those shows where I can just watch it and be like, oh yeah, I enjoyed that, or it's gonna be like an actual show where I can be like, all right, this is actually like some quality stuff. I'm waiting to see because like I said, I've only got my first impression with the first episode, and right now it's just like it seems like just one of those shows I can try on and enjoy. So I'll probably finish it. Yeah. I probably will, regardless. It's just I'm curious to see if it'll turn into a show where I'm like, oh yeah, this is like actually like a good show versus just like, oh, I enjoyed that. Mm-hmm. You know?
It's yeah, I mean it's cute, you know. I mean like I really don't see a lot more like
I don't know how much further they can go with it, right? Like
that's what I'm thinking.
It seems like a pretty stuck situation, and like the only way that shit would happen is if like they start throwing in like cheesy, like, you know, like shit to like make the characters uncomfortable, or like to just totally fuck up their whole plan. Like, you know, like the police find out that he's holding a girl that's run away from home or something like that would be like the kind of thing where I'm like, okay, but it's like kind of cheesy, right? Yeah. So like,
well, yeah, it's a really cheap mix up to the plot.
Yeah, so yeah, it would feel like it's cheap, right? Like it would feel cheap.
True.
So I'm curious to see if like they can actually make something like quality out of this, or if it's just gonna be one of those shows I can turn on and be like, all right, yeah, this is good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
it's like it'd be like the most like 6 or 7 out of 10 show, you know, like it could be, or it could end up being like an 8 or a 9. You know, like, I feel like it could go either way right now, just because of my first impressions.
Yeah, I think like right now, like the vibe I'm getting of it, or like one of the comparisons that I thought of was about the show called After the Rain. Whereas kind of something similar where like there's like this high school girl that like falls in love with this like divorced like middle-aged manager of like a cafe, and then like but it's not so much about the romance, it's more about like the how like the relationship between the two and how they make each other better and stuff. That's what it's more about, and like that's kind of the comparison that I was kind of drawing between the two. Like, you know, there are some moments where, you know, it gets a little, like, there's tension, but really it's more about the relationship between the two and how they get better. Like, you know, how they make each other better. But I don't know. Yeah, it's not something that, like, I feel very pressed to, like, you know, watch the next episode on, you know? In terms of where they take it, like...
I mean, I enjoy it.
It seems... Yeah, I mean, it's enjoyable. It's cute, right? It's easy to watch. But in terms of, like... end game for it, it seems pretty obvious, and it's kind of like, but I don't feel like I'm like, oh man, like I need to see how this unfolds. I don't know. I don't feel super pressed about it or anything like
Yeah,
that.
I think I'm enjoying it more so because I'm using it as a break from Code Geass right now because I just finished the first season of Code Geass, which is phenomenal by the way. I gave it a 10 out of 10. I was
Yeah.
like it's just it was just so damn good. It's like Code Geass was like everything I loved about uh Death Note, everything I loved about Fate Zero with the philosophical battles,
Uh-huh.
and then there was Mecha, and I was like, this is like all the stuff I like.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
I was like mind games, philosophical battles, total fuck ups,
Uh-huh.
and like mechas.
Yeah.
Good mecha fights. I was like, sign me the fuck up for more. Like,
Geass
I mean, there's a
Right.
reason.
Oh,
There's a
hell
reason
yeah.
why Code Geass is amongst the
it's
great.
it's so well regarded, right? Like, there's a reason.
All right,
There's
I
only
just hadn't
one
gotten to
problem.
it
we're
yet.
going a little bit off the train tracks here.
But yeah.
Boys. Okay.
I think, like I said, I think I'm enjoying it thoroughly. Just like I think I kind of like stumbled upon it at the perfect timing as well, just because of what I'm watching at the same time.
Yeah.
Might be part of the reason why I'm enjoying it more so than like I might normally. But even then, I think it's still like a pretty fun show.
Yeah.
I enjoyed watching it. I had a good couple little chuckles here and there.
Yeah, and I will say too though, like I was quite hesitant to watch it just because it seemed like one of those sus shows, you know. Like, I mean, come on, think about
I watched it because I was like, it definitely won't be one of those sus shows. Let's go. I can watch and like not be uncomfortable because this dude is like the most alpha dude. He just constantly says no, and I love it. I'm like, this guy knows what's up.
Yeah. All right.
I just hope he stays that way.
Yeah.
He better not fucking fall. He better not fucking do some dumb shit. I want him to become her father figure, not her fucking weird, like,
Yeah. No. I know what
relation, like,
you mean.
like relationship type shit. I don't want to see that. I want to see like a father figure happen. Okay, that's what I want to see.
Yeah.
I want to see some wholesome shit.
All right. So I got two more. I'll be quick.
Yeah.
To Your Eternity. If either of you guys have.
Very much looking forward
It's
to that.
on my list. I know it's good. I'm gonna wait until it's done.
Yeah,
'cause I
waiting
don't
till
feel
it's
like
I
finished.
will
Yeah, I'm
say.
gonna be able to binge
I will
that.
say so. First episode, probably the best episode in my opinion. And like the episodes following. I don't know. It's hard to say. Like, first of all, what Endgame to Your Eternity looks like. I think like after the first episode, it made me think like, oh, maybe it's like maybe it's kind of like a Violet Evergarden thing where it's like, you have this character, and it's like it travels across the world, and like you get to see all these cool places and see all, and it like it goes through like different people's lives, and you get to see how it changes those people's lives, you know what I mean? And then at the same time you get to see all these cool new places and learn about the world and all these people. And like that's what I thought it was going to be about. I'm not sure. It seems pretty like, I'm 4 episodes in I think right now, and it's pretty like it's pretty focused in on one section right now, and I'm to be honest, I'm not very interested in that section, nor do I. No, honestly, I'm probably not even enjoying it really right now. It's just my opinion.
Damn.
But first episode I thought was really good, and so like that's where I thought it was gonna go, but because it honestly doesn't seem like, I don't know. It just seems like the main character is kind of just along for the ride right now. It's a little interesting.
Like, is it like primarily monologue,
No.
or like so it's just very quiet,
The
or
first
is
episode
him
maybe.
talking?
The first episode I'd say yeah, but second episode no. Or they're like the episodes following definitely not right now. In fact, I don't think is there even a narrator in those episodes following? I'm not even sure.
Well, monologue doesn't have to be a narrator. It can still be like the character
I
like
know what you
talking
mean.
on
I know what
himself.
you mean. Yeah, and I think the first episode does that, but I don't think the episodes following do right now.
Really? Okay, that's strange. I mean, like, for a show that visually looks quiet, like it looks like a quiet show, I don't know why. I mean, like, I get it. I get why they would have no narrator, but I feel like you kind of can't keep it quiet, at least from what I'm seeing. Like, you can't keep it like super quiet all the time.
No.
Is it supposed to be a long running show, or is it supposed to be like like a one
don't
and done
know.
kind of thing,
I don't
like
It's
a
just
one
20
season and
episodes.
that's it.
It's 20
So it's only
episodes.
20 episodes, right? So I feel like that means it's probably like
is one and
supposed to
done.
be finished after that, right? Like I don't know if it's supposed to be long running.
I think it's probably going to be one and done, but I don't know. It's
It says it's supernatural, or so like
yeah. You'll see.
I think
You'll
it's just the. I'm assuming it's just the setting that's supernatural, but nevertheless.
okay.
see. You'll see.
I was
You'll
gonna
see.
say because like it's supposed to be like some freaky shit going on, or
You'll see.
or
You'll
what?
see. You'll see. It's but I don't know. First episode was the best episode so far. I'm still gonna keep watching it, but it's not what I expected, and like not necessarily in the way that I would have preferred. I'll just say. And then Odd Taxi actually will. I like this. I like Odd Taxi a lot actually. It's like an
Yeah, you mentioned that
anthropomorphic,
last week.
like so like it's kind of like those like animals, but like the humanized, I guess, like
Yeah.
human
You mean like
things.
Beastars or like
Kinda,
Gretzko?
yeah, pretty much.
Little, yeah, kind of similar to that. I've heard. Yeah.
It leans a lot less into that part of it though, than like because like Beastars, like one of the main concepts was like carnivores and herbivores. You know what I mean? Like the divide and stereotypes and stuff. And so it's
like
kind of a
racism.
commentary. Yeah, exactly. Odd Taxi, almost not at all.
They're basically just people, right? Like
Yeah,
they're just people that have like animal bodies. That's pretty much it.
and so there's almost no lean into that whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so what I was thinking when I would watch it was like another one of those therapeutic shows where it's like, this guy's like a taxi driver, and so like, people would come and go, and I thought it'd be something very similar where you get to learn about these people and see how, they're, and it would just be like typically like idle chit chat or something, but then also you get to see like how it influences their lives and stuff. That's what I was thinking it would be. It's very different. It's actually quite interesting. So like it does do that to a degree where it's like they do talk in his taxi and stuff. Like a lot of conversations do take place in the taxi, but like then sometimes you'll see actually every character you'll see it follows all the people that were in his taxi, and you kind of get to see like
Yeah.
they all kind of appears to go off and do their own things, right? But then it's all gonna come back together. Like you're seeing it all unfold, how like everything is actually linked, one way or another, and it's like kind of like a crime, like mystery type thing going on right now. It's really interesting.
It sounds kind of cool. I don't know. I don't know how interested I'll be to like pick it up once the season ends, because like I said, generally I don't watch shows week by week. But I don't know. It's just one of those shows. It's like yeah, that could be interesting, but it also could just be like not my cup of tea whatsoever. And because of like how little time I like to, well, sometimes I have little time. Right now I have more than usual, which is why I've been able to like fucking watch 25 episodes of Code Geass in 3 days. But
okay, that's quite the number.
But
like, I mean, to be fair, I'm still in classes, right? Like I have stuff going on still, but like I think that it's just one of those shows where I'm like, yeah, it could be good, but unless I hear some like really like something like really really big like commotion about it, or like people are like actually like like buzzing about it a little bit, then I probably won't pick it up as like a show that I want to go back to, because generally I go back to like previous seasons. I go back to like the previous season from the season before, and then I'll pick something like pick a few things that I want to go back and watch. Like this season I wanted to go back and watch Mushoku Tensei, which we'll talk about in a bit. And then like I want to watch Horror Mia and like those kinds of things. I kind of just go back a season when they're done, and I just pick the ones that I was like most interested at the time. And Odd Taxi just seems like one of those ones where I'm like, I don't know, I just don't think it'll make that cut.
Yeah, understandable. I think if you do though, if you have some free time or whatever, I'd recommend giving it a try. Right now I'm really enjoying it. Second favorite right now, I'd say.
How many episodes is it? It's 13.
It's 13, okay.
Yeah. And then I guess Matt, short but sweet, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you guys mentioned Tokyo Revengers. I'm curious about watching that when season's over. Same with what was it called? English. Well, Vivi, yeah. Oh, Tear Eternity, right?
Right.
The one that I wanted to talk about, because we also touched on Higehiro. I just watched the first episode of that, and like we already talked about that. But 86. I'm really looking forward to.
Yeah, I was thinking
I've
about
heard
that too.
I've heard it's like a kind of like a baby Code Geass, like kind of not quite as like good, but if you're itching for more of that, then you might like it. And I'm like, when I finish season 2 Code Geass, I might just be itching for more of that.
Yeah.
So I might pick it up.
Yeah.
And then like also I just want to touch about like I want so badly for My Hero Academia to be good. I want so badly for it to be good. Like it's one of my starter anime, it's one of the things I started on.
Yeah.
I like the show. I like a few of the characters. A few of the characters are really good. Like there's a few really good characters in that show, and then the rest are all kind of just shit.
Yeah.
But like for the characters that I like in that show, I want to stay invested in it. And like what I've heard so far from like the My Hero fandom is that the beginning of this season will probably be shit. Because the manga readers need to think that the current events are going to be like is like one of the worst parts of the entire series.
So I've heard as well.
And I was like, okay, well that's not promising. And they were like, well, okay, but right after that it gets really really good. And I'm like, well, so if that starts to happen toward that latter half of the season, maybe I'll just suck it up one day, binge the shit out of the shitty part, get it over with, and then watch the good parts. But then again, the good parts of My Hero Academia are never quite that good, in my opinion. They're always like
they're pretty
okay, or they're like, oh, that was good, but it was like 3 episodes, and like I don't give a shit because it was 3 episodes of good show, and the rest of it was horrible or like barely bearable. And it's like I want it to be but I hate that it isn't.
Yeah.
I
would take what they say with a grain of salt. It's hard to say because like at least in my opinion, like I really didn't like season 4, but like I had heard that it was going to be pretty good, and so it's like
I respect the Demon Slayer fandom more so than I respect the My Hero Academia fandom, because I feel like when the Demon Slayer fandom gives hype for stuff, it's actually good. Okay, whereas when the My Hero fandom gives hype for stuff, half the time it's still like pretty meh,
Yeah, I mean,
like the Demon Slayer movie was fucking good. I'll be honest, it was really good, and like they were hyping that up. They were like, "Yeah, this movie is gonna be good," and I was like, "It was actually really good." You know what? I'll listen to you then. Whereas My Hero is like, they say stuff is good, and I'm just like, it was okay,
It's hard to say. I don't know. Like, I mean, I would say that like there's always going to be a part of every fandom that like overhyped shit.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't say that's like specific to the My Hero fandom.
But like even like Attack on Titan last season, every hype moment that happened in Attack on Titan was killer. Like I was hyped too. Like it was good shit. Attack on Titan killed it last season.
But that's I think that's just respect for the show, not less respect for the fan or like for the My Hero fandom. You know what I mean?
I guess. Yeah, that's true. The show I think Attack on Titan was just better. Is just better overall in general. It's significantly better overall in general than My Hero is. But
it's not a fair
also, I respect when manga readers and stuff like that hype up stuff in like Attack on Titan and like Demon Slayer, because the stuff they've hyped up has actually been good. Whereas like in My Hero, like I said, sometimes it's just been kind of okay.
Yeah.
I feel like if a manga reader decides to go out of the way to say like, yeah, this isn't going to be very good, and it's like that doesn't show much hope. You're not making me feel too good about what.
And it's like when I heard about what happened with Promised Neverland season 2, and people were like hyping up like the Goldie Pond arc, and then it didn't happen.
Well, that didn't happen. Okay,
and people were furious.
That's a different story because that just never happened.
This is exactly right. Like it's like because like they were hyping it up like this is supposed to be really good, and then it just straight up didn't happen. And everybody was in like complete shock and like it was like outrage, like. Anyways, I think that's it for seasonal stuff.
Yeah.
I could briefly mention, I guess I'm gonna be watching the Slime Diary or whatever the fuck it's called. I like it's kind of cute. I just like the characters in that show, so I like to watch those.
Yeah, I mean, you watch that show for the characters. I mean, that's just how it works.
So shall we move on to Mushoku now?
Yeah, so I'll transition us over. So I will say as a thing, these seasonal ones won't take quite as long as this last one did. I think just because we just talked about all the shows that we started to watch, and that's like multiple episodes in, right? Every week, we only really have one episode to talk about per show, so they won't go quite as long. The seasonal portion of these, if we do continue the seasonal portion, but without further ado, we will now be moving into the Mushoku Tensei portion of the video. So we all decided to watch this last week, and we have all finished it, to my understanding. Is that correct?
Yep, I finished it in 2 days, dude. Less than 24 hours. I was done.
I finished it yesterday.
I love this show. I'm gonna be honest. Okay. I loved it.
Okay. So like when I first heard about this show or saw it and shit, I was just like, I didn't watch it. I didn't. If it wasn't for this, I would have never seen it. Because
this is ecchi bait. This is ecchi bait.
I just didn't want to watch it because it was just like. It's just like I hated the concept of this 40-year-old dude in this little kid's body, with other you know what I mean, that
yeah.
I don't know, that just turned me off a lot.
Bro, you literally watched Erased.
Yeah, I know, and that's why I didn't like Erased. I didn't like Erased for that either. I didn't like that part either.
Really? Does that just make you uncomfortable or something?
Yes, it does. How does that?
Okay. It does make me a little uncomfortable, but yeah. I was I got over it in an episode. So
well, I mean, it wasn't enough to deter me. It's similar to this show. It wasn't enough to deter me from the show, but I mean,
yeah.
And in all fairness, I had known it because Erased was one of the first maybe 10 anime that I had seen. So I didn't even know that was the case before I watched it. But if I had heard about it, I probably would have been I don't really want to watch this. Here, that's what actively prevented me from starting it.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, now I've seen it because of this. But okay. First, we'll start with numbers, and then we could, I guess, talk about what we. So what do we think out of 10? And then
I gave it an 8.
8.
Which
actually, let me explain.
We'll talk about. Hold on. We can
Yeah.
explain ourselves after. Let's just everyone give their numbers, and then we'll see.
Okay, I'm scrolling through Mal. Give me a second.
So you gave it an 8, you said, Matt?
You'd say yours.
Yeah, I gave it an 8.
Okay. 7.
Okay, I think I gave it a 7 as well. I'm scrolling through. Give me a second here.
Mm-hmm.
I want to double check. Yeah, I gave Mushoku Tensei a 7.
Okay. I was teetering on a 9, to be honest.
Really?
I was teetering between 8 and 9, and the only reason why I was okay, I can't give it a 9 in good faith because I gave Violet Evergarden a 9, and
they're not the same.
I don't think I could put it on the same level as Violet Evergarden. I was totally comfortable putting it as an 8 though. I was like 8. Yeah, that's reasonable. Let's do an 8. I'll stick with the 8.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. It's it's the kind of show where it just had everything that I like in a show, basically. Even if the fights were cool, the fights were pretty solid. And the animation is pretty. It's a very pretty show.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. It's a visually stunning show. When I watched Gridisane, when she saved the kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greenland, yeah.
That was beautiful.
Yeah, I think that the show is very pretty. It's very easy and nice to look at. Mm-hmm. I think that and then obviously the characters, I really like Rudy's character and the the dude who is him but in the body, the guy who got reincarnated. I don't remember what the original guy's name is. I just know Rudy.
Yeah.
I'm bad with names unless I'm I have to remember it. I don't really have to remember his name because they use Rudy most of the time anyways, right? So
yeah.
Yeah, I really like Rudy. I think he's an entertaining character. And I don't know, some people from what I've heard, a lot of people really don't like Eris. I didn't think she was that bad. I was she's she's the stereotypical tsundere, she's that. But I didn't find her as unbearable as a lot of other tsundere characters because at least I felt her tsundere characterization had a purpose, whereas sometimes I feel the tsundere thing is just a like a cliche, you know, like it's just like a thing they give a character and they're like, yeah, you're the token tsundere character and that's what you are. You know, like I felt like her behavior and stuff actually like made sense and had a purpose rather than just being, you know, like a thing that was like part of the show. Like when I think about
because she grew up in wealth and stuff, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like, and you can see how it's like a consequence of like her upbringing and stuff like that. You can see like the way like the people around her, like when she's a child, like, you can tell how she became like that.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I think that the fact that she's a tsundere helps balance out Rudy being a complete fucking pervert. You know, like it's like the only kind of character that makes him manageable, because a lot of times when it's a tsundere character, the guy isn't actually that bad, like isn't that pervy or anything like that. The tsundere just overreacts to everything. Whereas like, you know, sometimes you get those moments where she overreacts to like nothing really happening and she just punches him in the face for no reason.
Yeah.
But then also you get the moments where like, you know, he really overstepped his bounds and she was like, nah, fuck you. Like, like I'm not taking that, you know? And it's like, I felt like it was like a little more respectable because of that. I actually didn't think she was that bad. And then, yeah, I think like I said, I like, you know, the horny. I like shows that are like ecchi as fuck.
That
you
show
know?
is horny as fuck.
I just like that. So like, that's what I said. Like, it has like everything that I like in a show, and it had purpose while doing it. Like everything, it felt like it had a purpose to be there, rather than like some things just being there as like a cliche or whatever, right? Like I felt like there was purpose to everything.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
okay,
I fucking loved it. I thought it was fantastic.
I mean, I think it's harder to justify. Well, I guess like purpose, as in like not in a plot context though.
I mean, like purpose isn't like the writing, like the overall field of the like the writers trying to get across. It feels like everything means something versus just like, you know, shit that exists.
Yeah.
Exists for the sake of existing because they felt like writing that in. You know, like I feel like everything has a purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay. If I may, I'll go next.
Yep.
That's my opinion on it. Okay, so here's the thing, right? I'm also a pretty big fan when it comes to power fantasy shows. So any show, like Overlord, Saga of Tanya the Evil, like as much as they're isekai, they also have an aspect of power fantasy. And it's brain food. It's so fucking easy to watch. It's so easy. It's so stupid. I love watching somebody beat the shit out of somebody else and not get stopped for it. I'm not gonna lie. It's pretty good. It's pretty funny.
When you watch your protag just steamroll the shit out of people, it is pretty satisfying sometimes. Yeah.
And I think that Rudy as a character was a power fantasy, but not in like a physical way. But he was a mental power fantasy. I mean, bro, when if you're 3-year-old,
he's a literal Smurf, dude.
If you're 3-year-old,
he's smurfing.
If you're a dad and your 3-year-old tells you that you're parenting him wrong, then there's an issue. That's all I'm saying.
That was fucking hilarious, bro. I love those scenes. Some of those scenes are just like, oh man, I love this. Yeah. Oh man.
Okay, so here was my problem. Here's the thing, right? So I think the first half of the show was really, really good. I watched the first episode and I thought this was good. And then I watched the second and I'm like, okay, I have to go to work in an hour. I really don't want to go to work. I want to just keep watching. It was that good. Where I had a problem with it was about the halfway point. When they had just first of all, I think they kind of had a cop out and kind of putting him with like Eris and all them in like whatever that capital city is. I thought that was kind of like a cop out way to move him, of just like bonk you over the head. Now you're going to somewhere else. I thought that was kind of a cop out, but it was kind of like whatever.
Yeah. My
big issue is how, first of all, they completely forget about Sylphiette. They completely forget about her. She just disappears.
Well, remember, he's like saving up enough money to send them both to magic.
The whole goal is to help Sylphiette. What do you mean they forgot about her? That's like literally his whole goal of going there.
Okay, here are my two big issues with the show as a whole, right? My first was in terms of like I have to say it like this, it's like the age pacing, you know? Like, because in the first couple of episodes, you're seeing him grow at like a couple of years every couple of episodes, right? So from like episode 1 to episode 2, he goes from like just born to like 5 years old. And then after that he goes to like maybe 6 or 7. Like he's actually like growing. But I feel like once you hit like the halfway point, once he meets Eris, it kind of screeches to a halt. He like towards the end of like the end of like the arc where he gets into the city, he like they actually show him like turn 10. I think it was 10, right? He turned 10.
10.
Yeah,
Because they
it's
celebrate
10
birthdays
show.
every 5 years.
Yeah. But they, like she had turned 10, which like there was at least some growth there. But I felt like I was just kind of watching the same thing. Like I got the environment and whatever, but I felt like I just wasn't seeing him grow his age. I feel like him when he entered there to him when he was like when he turned 10 was kind of the same vibe I got from him. There's obviously a little bit of growth, but I don't feel like it was that big as it was
I just think that like the growth in the first part of the show is very drastic and obvious. I think that the growth in the last half of the series or the last half season is a lot less obvious, and because of the whole like getting fucking sent, across the world or whatever, like I think that plays a part in that because it basically just puts his growth to a stop at that point. Like it kind of just like cuts it off at that point. Because then they have like immediate shit to deal with rather than having to look at the long term.
Yeah, and it's not like and it doesn't have to be like physical growth. It can, because like those last arc or few episodes was about him as like as a person, right? Because then you see like for example when they were in that forest, right? And like that party member fucking got murked because he got
because he told everybody to wait. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. Like that was the growth. Is that like you kind of like that's like the first time where his judgments like failed.
Been totally wrong. Yeah, and he just like totally fucked up something.
And so that's a little bit of a mortality type thing going on there, and it's like that's the type of growth coming from that episode or like that section. I don't think it needs to be. I think like I didn't feel it was outpaced or anything like that or anything was too weird because of that age growth thing. I think there's generally less interesting things to get into, like in those first few years, right? Obviously, I think there's less. It's more of an exposition, in my opinion, like for the first 2 years, because then that those eventually will lead to the choices and the type of person he is, and I think like the real development and like all that stuff will happen in his like adolescence and like when he's kind of going through those middle school-ish years, I guess, and that's why like this. That's why it feels like his physical age isn't moving as quickly, is just because there's like there's more interesting things. I mean, and that there's going to be more growth like as a person and stuff when he's older.
Yeah, the way I look at it,
it's weirdly paced or anything like that.
Yeah, the way I look at it is like the first part of the show is like him growing out of his old world, and the second part of the show, and like this kind of is like hinted upon when Ghislaine first like saves him and Eris when they're like midair, the dude's like chucked a sword at them or whatever, right. And then she just fucking kills them, like the three guys, whatever they were, and like that's like the first kind of glimpse you get of it, of like him like realizing, oh shit, this is a completely different world I'm in, like this is a completely different. Like I feel like the first part of the show is him growing out of his old life and like his old traumas and stuff like that, like. Because like when Roxy gets him to come outside for the first time and he realizes, oh shit, this isn't that bad, like I have a fresh start to like not be fucking scared of going outside all the time now, like, and like that's kind of like him growing out of some of his old world problems and stuff like that. And then like later on in the show it starts to show him realizing what kind of place he's actually been moved into, like what kind of world he's living in, and him learning how to actually like live in that world, like him growing into it. It's like kind of what I think. Like the first part is him growing out of his old world. Second half is him growing into the new one.
Right. Okay. I kind of feel that. The only really big gripe I have, like to end it off here, is I really don't like the end of the series. The season. I really didn't like it.
To be fair,
that's what I was going to get into as well.
It is only part 1 of season 1. The second half of the season is coming. So
but even like the show
my issue
itself,
though, right?
Yeah, it's such a. I mean, yes, it's character driven, but like I don't know, it doesn't like you can't really see like an end here. Like, what's the end goal here? Can you?
Like, I think my biggest issue was that they had a pace. They kind of had like an idea for what they were doing for the first half, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm on board with this. I like this. And then the second half, they said, okay, now we're just playing. And now it's a fantasy anime. I'm like, well, I didn't really. I did. You kind of paced me for something else. The first half, they kind of paced me for somebody who was using their skills from another world into another. But for this, they're just like, no, fuck you. Now you're just in the middle of nowhere, and now you're fighting with some demon guy. I'm like, okay, well, that's. That's cool, I guess. If you would have introduced me to to a show that had like kind of the pacing for that, but I felt like it was a completely different show in the first half, and they completely swapped it for the end. That's just me.
Yeah, I can see how that could be like a complaint. Yeah, because I like both parts of that. So when they made that switch, I wasn't so like disrupted by it. Because I was like, oh, this is also cool. I also like this, so I'm fine with it. You know, like maybe I just didn't really like notice it or thinking about it too much because I liked both parts anyways, so it didn't really matter to me. Like I like those characters so much that it didn't really matter to me what they were doing or what was going on. I just wanted to see more of like what they were going to do and like how they were going to solve problems and like how they were going to react to things happening to them. Right? Like I wanted to just see more of them.
Yeah.
Right. That's really all I gotta say about it. I think it was good. Like at the very least, it was a good show. I enjoyed watching it. The ending was just meh for me, but I think the first like 2/3 of that show absolutely worth the watch for me.
Yeah, I mean
absolutely.
I have the same gripes as Alex does with like again, I was saying like I don't know, it's hard for me to visualize like a beginning and end. Like I know that like okay, like supposedly, you know, the end game is like he's not a shitty person, he's like, you know, he's he's grown out of that attack, but like I don't know, it feels like he's pretty much there already, you know what I mean? And so it's hard for me to visualize what that end game is because like I don't know, it's hard for me to like the plot is definitely not it's not what's keeping me here right now. Like if I were to enter the show or like if the next part of season 1 is like gonna be about like how those like vortexes and shit is what got them to like teleport and shit like that. It's like some demon king invasion or some shit like that. Like I would instantly become way less interested just because it's just something that I've seen a million times before and I honestly don't give a fuck about it. Like
yeah, that's fair.
Like
I don't know.
Again, the plot's definitely not what's keeping me from coming back to it. It's more just like, you know what, I'm interested and like watching these characters interact is really fun. I love the world building. I love to see what's going on and like, you know, the intricacies and stuff like that. Like for example, like what the Spurred guy is doing, right? That's interesting to me. And all that stuff. Also it's just really beautiful to look at. I love how they do the opening too. It's like, you know, they have the music playing, but then it's like it's kind of like
they do, and they show kind of like the beginning of what they're kind of getting up to first, without having to like you know give dialogue and stuff like that. They just kind of like show like they give you the gist of what's supposed to happen in that episode, basically, or like what's gonna be kind of the beginning of what's happening, and then you know you hop right into it and you're chilling.
I think I really like how they do the OPs and stuff. I mean, like I think there are a lot of aspects of the show like on textbook that I think are good. Like, you know, when I'm talking about like, you know, the soundtrack, the animation, blah blah blah, voice acting. But again, like I don't know, the story. It's first of all, yeah. I mean, the ending was just so weird. Like I don't know. I feel like nothing's been solved at this point. Like
that's why I don't know.
End of it, or like so far, like
I feel like I almost
real problem presented and like nothing. Like no clear like resolution yet, and
I kind of almost want to wait for part 2 to give it a proper assessment. Like I give it an 8 right now.
Right.
That could very easily change after part 2 comes out, and I'm like, all right, now I understand why this ended this way, and like you know maybe there will be some like you know like moment where I understand, you know, like it clicks, and I'm like, okay, all right. That was a reasonable way to end season 1 because then I understand like the natural progression after that. But like, it was a little awkward. I'll be honest. Yeah, I wasn't a particularly big fan of the ending either. It kind of it did that thing where it's like it leaves you wanting more, and like I get it. Like it leaves you wanting more in the way that's like you feel like it's not like it's not finished. You know, like it's just unfinished. It's unsatisfying.
Yeah.
So you want more because it was unsatisfying. That's kind of like I get maybe why they were going for that. Like they want you to come back and watch more. Obviously, that's the whole point. But like I feel like it was just kind of done in the wrong way. Like rather than making us want more because it's like, oh, this is really good. Like I want more because I can't wait to see how this like what happens. It wasn't that kind of, I want to see more. It's like I said, it's like you said, kind of unsatisfying, and therefore I want to see more because I want to be better satisfied with the show.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think we're all in agreement here that it's not ideal right now, but I think we're all in it for the long haul here, right?
Yeah, I'm rewatching part 2. I'm very excited for part 2.
I'm in no rush. If it comes out, if there's nothing really else that I want to watch seasonally, I'll watch it. But I don't feel like I'm really rushing to get a season 2 done.
Yeah.
So like I said, it's one of those shows where it's like, if I have prior investment, I'm gonna be watching it weekly. I guarantee I'll be watching this weekly because I have the prior investment. Yeah. It's funny actually. Is Jujutsu Kaisen was the only show recently that's actually like broken that like kind of thing that I have where I have to have prior investment. I wasn't invested in Jujutsu Kaisen as well at all until I started it, and then I was like, oh, this is really good. Now I'll watch it.
Interesting.
But yeah, other than that, like I'm definitely watching this like part 2 of that for in the summer. I think it's the summer, right?
I'm not here.
Pretty sure it's the summer.
Here, let me check.
Yeah, I think it's a July. I think.
Oh shit!
Right.
Dragon Maid is next season 2, and
Yeah.
Slime, and then also
Mushoku Tensei second half.
Yep.
I guess it. Oh yeah, I guess it is only the first half, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, it's only 11 episodes. Like it's only the first 11 episodes. It's supposed to be 11 more, right? Or 12 more? 11 more, 12 more, something like that.
Let me check.
It's 12 more.
12 more. Okay. Yeah, it's 23 total. Yeah, I thought so.
Hey, what else?
Bro,
is
maybe.
So this is Studio Bind's like first anime too. So props to them.
Yeah, and this is like Studio Bind was created just to make this. So like they're committed, and if they're committed, then I'm committed because I like this show.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah. Again,
I'm down.
As many complaints as I have regarding the plot and like, all that stuff, it's a good show. I like it.
And I feel like it has a lot of potential. Like I feel like there's a lot of ways it can get better right now. And I'm optimistic because so far it's been pretty good anyways. So like,
well, in what ways do you think could it develop to become like in what ways do you see potential? I guess
I think there's a huge potential for the world.
I
think that the world has a lot of potential with like the scale of it, and just like the amount of shit that could possibly go. Because like right now, like they're focused on the city they're currently in, the problems they currently have. Like they're just focusing on their own shit. We have no idea what's going on with that whole like. The demon king or whatever the fuck it was getting released from that spell, like the binding spell or whatever. Like we have no idea what's going on with any of that. Like and you said like if that becomes the main driving story arc, then yeah, it might become a little less interesting. But I feel like that the potential of what's happening in the background and like how different things could be when he finally does get back to like where they came from. I think there's a lot of potential for the world. There's a lot of potential for new characters. Like there was a few new characters that were introduced literally in the last couple episodes. And I'm like, I want to see more of them. They look kind of cool. They look kind of interesting. So I think there's a lot of potential in both the world, the characters, and like, again, I think that he still has room to grow, even if like they've explored a lot of like the, the growth out of his past life and stuff like that. I think that they still have a lot of room to grow with the current landscape and like other characters as well. I think Eris has a lot of room to grow. I think that Rougeard has a lot of room to grow. Like I think that there's definitely a lot of potential there in a lot of different ways, and I think that if they do a good job of it, it can be even better than it is now, easily.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I have more hope that the second season will be. I don't know. Like I'm worried that it's gonna just transition to like a fantasy, continue to travel on your path anime, where just like here's this group of people just traveling the world trying to survive. Like I hope it doesn't become that, which I unfortunately see it potentially becoming.
So what do you hope for it to be then?
I mean, the end of the day, I hope for it to be that he at least settles back. I liked how he was settled in for the first half of the show, where he was settled to a specific area. So for the first third, he was at home. For the second third, he was in like in the castle with Eris and whoever else. But in the third half, he just kind of started traveling. He just started kind of went wherever, and that's fine. But I feel like the more and more he traveled, the more and more I was kind of like, I don't know. I feel like the charm of the show kind of stuck in him sitting at home or sitting somewhere and just kind of getting to know everything around there instead of him continuously moving forward.
See, I think that's like the best part is that you're learning about all these different people and different places. Like,
yeah, there's only so much they can do with him being static. There's only so much you can do.
Yeah, especially
unless you have other characters come in, right? Like
yeah,
unless you have
don't
that kind of thing.
you don't put it in a fantasy setting to be stuck in this rural town.
Yeah,
you know.
I don't know why. I think that you just had the wrong impression of what the show is supposed to be after the first few episodes. I honestly think that you just don't know what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I think
I feel like you're confused.
I don't know. Like I got so comfy with the first beginning of the show. I was I want more of this, and they just threw it away. Like, where comfy life go?
And and that's how he felt as well, right? Like he was like, "Where'd my comfy life go?" Everything just got thrown in the shitter.
Well, that's the whole point.
So like now he has to figure out how to not be in a comfy situation. That's
the whole point, though, is that like his previous life was just the comfy life. He wants to be better. He wants to, you know what I mean? He's making up for all the lost time that he had when he was a 40-year-old shut-in.
Yeah,
I'm serious. No, I'm serious. So like
40-year-old complete fucking degenerate.
There'd be no point in the show if he just stayed at home and like
I agree.
did the equivalent of playing video games all day inside. There'd be no point in the show because then he doesn't change as a person, and that's the whole point of the show, is showing that, one, a fresh restart doesn't make you a whole new person, and two, like it's never too late to hit the reset, be someone new. I don't know.
I don't know. See, that lesson, I felt like it was poorly represented because I remember that was like something that a lot of people talk about when they talk about Mushoku Tensei, where it's like that whole like, oh, it's never too late to turn over a new leaf, get your shit together, and I felt like the way that this show tackles that isn't exactly a good lesson to take away because he wouldn't have changed unless he died, got reincarnated as a little kid, and actually got a full restart chance. He probably never would have changed. Mm-hmm. He was going to be a shit human being for the rest of his life, probably.
Mm-hmm. Well, he still kind of is. He still
carries some of those like degenerative like behaviors and stuff like that, obviously. But like I said, I don't think that tackles it very well because like there are shows that tackle that whole like it's never too late to turn over a new leaf. Like I feel like there's other shows that tackle that lesson a lot better. I think that it's cool they use this particular situation and made it something good. I like how they did that. However, I don't think it's a good lesson to take away from this particular show because it's kind of showing like you need a whole new life to turn over a new leaf.
That's what I was thinking too. Is that like the setting itself doesn't necessarily cater to it as well. Where like I think like ReZero is a lot better for that because it's like, his ability really like isn't as like overpowered in the same sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so it's like and that forces Subaru to change, right? And I think ReZero is a lot better of a portrayal.
Yeah, I also agree with that.
Better of a setting and a stage for it, whereas like Mushoku Tensei, it's really hard to properly relay that when one, he does get a whole new like setting. Two, he has like all these crazy superpowers and stuff, right? Like it's a little bit harder to.
Well, yeah, when he's a prodigy as like a 3-year-old.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So makes him come off as gifted.
Mm-hmm. So it's a little bit harder to portray that, I'd say. But
well, yeah.
I mean,
that's all I got to say.
Yeah. Does anyone else have closing thoughts for Mushoku Tensei?
Moxie best girl. Roxy.
Roxy's best girl, obviously.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
I just didn't think Eris was as shit as everybody said. As everybody told me she was. I was like,
I'm not interested in Eris. I'm not interested in Eris.
I'm not interested in her. I just think she's not as bad as everybody told me.
It's more people were like, "That's a child. Why do you like the child?" I'm like, okay, I get it. I kind of understand. Like that's the main takeaway. Is people like.
Also, Roxy is technically 40-something, so she's technically of age.
True.
I mean, that's still, you know what, boy or girl, it's still pedophilia. I don't know, man.
I'm kidding. It's I honestly think that she's
girl. I can
she's
say
the best
that because
girl.
I'm 18. I can say that because I'm 18. Everyone know that. But I mean, yeah. Is there anyone else really that anyone would choose over her? I don't think so.
Rudy's mom.
I guess you could say like maybe Ghislaine. Like Ghislaine's kind of cool.
Oh, that's true. I
She's
mean,
badass, and she's like, I actually do like Ghislaine a lot. I think she's awesome.
Yeah. No.
Because
I agree.
she makes the effort to learn fucking math with a fucking 15-year-old bitch of a girl right next to her, like
Mhm.
I respect that. She's strong, she's independent, and she learns math.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, like, I don't particularly hate any characters in the show except for like the kid that Roxy's teaching. Like, I don't know. And like, I don't. Yeah, I agree. I don't think.
Oh
I
yeah,
don't
true.
think
Yeah,
Eris
the prince. Yeah.
is like that bad. I mean, like, yeah, she's not my favorite character. Would I hate to be like with her? Yeah, but
yeah. That's just what comes
to be
with
fair,
being
that's a
around
lot
me.
of. That's, in my opinion, that's a lot of anime characters in general. Like,
Yeah,
I think
true.
like, for example, like Konosuba, I would hate any of those. I would hate so many of those people. I would hate
Yeah,
a lot
probably,
of people
yeah.
in Kaguya-sama too. I just wouldn't want to deal with that shit. It would just blow up, like, fucking hurt my brain. Like, dealing with like that people, like, that's why when people are like,
Yep.
oh my god, Kaguya or Chico is my waifu, I'm like, oh my god, like, I would hate to have to deal with those people.
Bro,
It also comes with a lot of like tsundere
Miko
characters
gang.
in general. In my opinion, tsundere characters are just like shit people, so I wouldn't hang around them in real life, but they're entertaining as fuck to watch.
They're entertaining to watch, but yeah, I mean, like, I consider myself like a very Matt knows this. I'm a very upfront person, and so I wouldn't want to deal with that, like having to, like, 'cause
Yeah.
I feel like I have to do that pretty often too, like with like my friend group, like IRL too, like I have to pry things out of them sometimes, and it also just makes me feel shitty too, and so I just wouldn't want to deal with that.
Yeah.
I think the big thing that would drive people away from Mushoku Tensei while watching it would probably be the cringe comedy, which happens more than
You watched Rent a Girlfriend. Shut the fuck up. It was nowhere near as bad as Rent a Girlfriend.
I am conditioned. I'm good. I'm fine. I watched Rent a Girlfriend. I
hated Rent a Girlfriend, and I was able to watch Mushoku Tensei and thoroughly enjoy it. It's not a problem.
Wait,
Cringe
there's
humor
even a
in that
lot
show.
of cringe comedy?
No,
I mean, when
It's
Paul
fucking hilarious.
when Paul pipes the maid, I got a little
It was fucking hilarious. I was like, oh my god, this is like, oh shit. Like you feel horrible because Rudy is like in the middle of that,
Oh, man.
but it's funny.
Yeah, I don't think it was that bad.
I don't know. I thought it was. Like you said,
I'm not saying it's me. I'm not saying it's
nowhere
me.
near as bad as something like Rent a Girlfriend. Like cringe comedy was not unbearable in that show whatsoever. If you could handle like anything even close to how bad Rent a Girlfriend was, you'll be fine with Mushoku Tensei.
Yeah.
100%.
I honestly didn't even notice it. Like,
No, neither did I. I hardly noticed it.
yeah. So that's
It's like that.
fine.
Yeah, it's like you said, that one scene maybe. I was like a little bit cringy, and aside from that, I was like,
Okay, well, it wasn't just
still
that
just funny.
one scene. There was the overly almost erotic scene with Eris.
yeah.
There was when
that wasn't really cringy.
Yeah, that wasn't.
I mean,
cringe
That wasn't even
comedy.
humor. That was just.
it was uncomfortable.
That was just fan service.
For
it was-
the
it was-
children, what do
Comedy.
you
That's
mean?
just fan service.
Yeah, that wasn't cringe comedy at all. That was just like
How
a
about
scene
Ghislaine
that
and
happened
Rock-
to make you slightly uncomfortable because that's the whole point of the scene is to make you a little uncomfortable
Oh,
because
the
you know
fucking-
that she's an underage girl.
With
and
Ghislaine
he's
too?
like,
With
you know,
Ghislaine's
when
rock
she-
hard
when-
ass.
when
Oh,
she-
that was funny. That was just
That's
funny.
not. Yeah, that's not. That's
'Cause she's just, like,
anime.
clueless
That's
and doesn't give
literally
a shit,
fucking
right?
Anime, dude. That's literally
Yeah.
fucking anime. Like,
She
I
just
don't
doesn't
know what to
like.
tell
She just
you.
doesn't give a shit. She's just like, yeah, sure. You need to see my tail. I need to keep you here for another like hour. So yeah, sure. I'll show you my tail. Like, all right.
Yeah.
I'm not saying cringe comedy is bad. I'm just saying that some people may
wasn't
view that
cringe
as it.
comedy.
Some people may see.
What
the
turns
potential
them
things
away?
that-
What turns them away? What turns people away is the horniness, is
Yes.
the
Yes.
pedophilia type stuff.
Yes, the
That's
kind
what's
of
gonna-
it's like kind of pedophilia because it's like it's like it is, but it also kind of isn't, and that's what it makes you a little bit like you're like, okay, I don't really know how to feel about
Yeah.
this, and it's like kind of weird, right? Like it's just I would get why that would turn somebody off of the show and then
Yeah.
like not want to pick it up again. If that makes you feel uncomfortable, you won't like it.
Yeah.
If you don't like super horny, ecchi stuff, you won't like it.
that's what's gonna turn people away though. Like,
Yeah, those are the
not
things
so
that'll
much
make people
comedy,
uncomfortable.
That stuff, yeah, that stuff's good. That's in my opinion, but
I loved it, so I didn't care. I was like, this is great. This is making me like the show even more. So it was
I still
fine.
thought it was good. I still thought it was good.
Yeah.
I just noticed the parts when it happened. And I'm like, gotcha. This could be a deterring factor. I don't know. Again, it's not as bad as like Rent a Girlfriend or anything of the sort there.
Yeah, not
but
even
it's still,
close.
I noticed a couple
That's
of
a
times.
low
I'm
bar.
like, oh, okay. I don't want to see I don't want to see a kid knock on a fucking cat girl or a wolf girl's ass for like a minute.
It was funny.
I mean,
I liked that scene. I thought it was funny.
yeah.
Or I don't want to watch children
prefer not to
borderline have
comment.
sex. But...
No, I'm kidding. Okay. Okay. Well, that's
I don't
not.
know, maybe I just find
luckily
things
for us,
funny or
that's not
easier, I
what the
don't
show is just about. Okay.
True.
Yeah. All right.
Just happens to be a part of it. That's all.
All right. Well, if our thoughts are wrapped up on Mushoku Tensei, then I think that's it for this episode.
Yeah.
I think we'll probably come out with the next episode in the next 1 to 2 weeks. We'll figure out what we're going to do. But until then,
Follow us on Twitter.
For us, yeah. Follow us on Twitter.
Twitter.
And subscribe.
If you want to see me be more of a degenerate on Twitter,
Yes. Follow.
I will be.
All right.